What he would always tell them is be so good they can't ignore you. If you do that, lots of other good things will come, because that advice basically turns out to be incredibly applicable. Especially if you're new. Let's say you're new to the job market, you're right out of school. You want to be passionate about what you do. By far, probably the most important thing you can do, the most important step you can take if you want to maximize the probability that you have a fantastic working life, is put your head down and go into apprentice mode. I'm going to master something that's unambiguously valuable. You do that, on that foundation, all sorts of really good things come. Good things that include real satisfaction and passion for your work.
But I want to go back and really wrap everything up around the passion idea. So are you saying that somebody could take something that intrinsically they have zero interest or maybe even negative interest, and simply by getting good that they will develop passion for it? And do you think there's anything automatic in there about mastery equals passion in a sort of one-to-one way? Or is it you do need to start with something that you find intrinsically interesting, it's just not necessarily going to be anything that feels like it could one day be a passion?
Yeah, the latter is the right way to think about it. And basically we have to lower the bar. So we have to lower the bar from this impossible height where we put it, which is you have a one true passion, and if you figure it out, you're gonna love your work starting the next day. And if you get it wrong, you're destined for a life of misery. Like, we have to lower that bar down to, there are many different things upon which you could build a life of real fulfillment and passion. But it's not just dart throwing, right? I mean, it has to be something that you have an interest in. It has to be something that you think would reward you with more flexibility and options as you got better at it, right? So it's not just arbitrary, but most people could probably pretty quickly identify 6 or 7 directions that pass those qualifiers. And so a lot of what I'm saying is that's enough. That's enough for it to pass the bar. I like this, maybe it matches some of my skills. I like the options it would open up if I did it well. It seems to resonate in some sort of ill-defined or ambiguous way. That's all enough for something to be the foundation of a passionate career. And there's probably a lot of things that pass that criteria, and that's okay.
So now going to the idea of apprenticeship, there was an article written recently that I found really interesting, and it brought out in me a rant. So let's see how wonderfully inflammatory we can be here while being very honest. This woman wrote an article saying, whoa, I have this business. I used to get interns all the time. Like, people would constantly be asking me if they could be an intern. And she was like, somewhere around 6 or 7 years ago, it just stopped. And now people today are like unwilling to do, or uninterested. I think she may have even said they're uninterested in doing, not meaning like I'm out here clamoring for people. She was just like surprised that people didn't want to be an intern anymore. And then the feedback on the article, they were skewering this woman and saying, oh, can you believe that people don't want to be enslaved? Oh, can you believe that people don't want to work for free? And I was like, whoa. If I had one piece of advice for myself going back in time, in fact, the cameraman on this camera right here is leaving this company because he's taking my advice.
Yes.
Because the advice I gave him was, go, who is like living your idealized life, the very life that you couldn't imagine, like, oh my God, if I have that, I will have everything. Go offer to work for them for free in exchange for knowledge and connections. Like, if I can't give you that, then you should immediately leave, because you're in this beautiful part of your life where poverty's okay. Yeah. You can still get laid while being poor. Yeah. It's not so cute when you're 40. Yeah. But like in your early 20s, hey, it's not like this big knock on who you are and your value in the world. And so he literally was like, I'm gonna go do exactly that. And so that to me is brilliant. So the fact that they're like skewering this woman for deigning to suggest that somebody basically be an apprentice, I find scandalous for their sake, not mine, but for their sake.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we think enough about how hard it is to actually do interesting and successful things. And so this is a real issue that I got into in that original book, where young people in particular would write their own script for, this is how I want the world to work. This is how, I want to run this thing and I want it to be really successful and I want X, Y, and Z. And here's what I want to be important for this, that I'm on social media a lot is going to be key. And the fact that I'm just a young go-getter and this will all work out in about a year. But like, the reality is everything that is worthwhile is really, really hard. And it's often really, really specific. And so I'm always telling young people something very similar. Before you make your plan for how you're going to execute, becoming a book author, for example, which a lot of people ask me about. Go talk to authors, figure it out. Figure out what the actual reality is of what matters and how people succeed. Don't write your own script. with the answers that you want it to be, because often there's a real conflict. Because it's easy to come up with some plan where you're like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to write 20 pages a day, and something that's kind of hard but not too hard, and you think it's going to be fun, and it might have nothing to do with how that industry works. But on the other hand, if you can get the intelligence, maybe by interning with someone who can actually teach you about the field you really care about, and you understand, this is what's involved, then you know where to put your energy. You know where to get the leverage point. It's why in academia, for example, why the people who write papers for star venues tend to train with other stars. Because you just learn, right? If you're at MIT in the sciences, you're going to learn from people that this is what they do. They write papers for the top places. They know how to do it. The mindset's all built around it. You can see what they pay attention to and what they don't pay attention to. And that type of apprenticeship actually matters.